Welcome to another meeting of TV Holics Anonymous. Quick, hit the follow button so you never miss an episode. You can also follow us on our socials too: Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, Blue Sky, YouTube, and give us a 5-star rating on whatever you're listening to this podcast on. Welcome to another meeting of TV Holics Anonymous. My name is Ruru, and I am a TV holic. Today, Mimi's not here because she has not watched the BTS live concert on Netflix, which I recapped. So if you haven't listened to that recap yet, not recap, but I've talked about it, listen to that first and then come back and listen to this. So she hasn't done that, watched that, so that's why I did it separately myself. And then also she hasn't watched this documentary. I don't know if she's going to actually or not, because she doesn't really listen to a lot of BTS music or anything like that. Not that I do either. I do know of BTS. I do like some of their songs. I do know like bits and pieces about the members and stuff like that. And I know that the fans are called the ARMY. They call them ARMY, which is interesting. So like this documentary, I just want to get into it. Let's get into the thick of things. So like I said, in this episode, basically, I want to get into like the massive emotional and I think at times controversial like return of one of the world's biggest boy bands at the moment, currently, BTS, and their brand new Netflix documentary, BTS The Return. So that's what we're doing today. And basically, we're just talking about like their return from like they spent time in the military, and that's why they all like had to, finish their mandatory. Everyone has to do mandatory. There's military mandatory conscription in South Korea because they're always in active war with North Korea. So every male has to complete their military service. I believe it's for just under 2 years or 2 years. So even like pop stars and like movie stars and doctors and everything have to complete this mandatory like service. So that's what they went off to do. They all did it at basically roughly around the same time. So they were on hiatus. And yeah, so that's what I want to just talk about. So let's just talk about like the weight that they felt on their shoulders, and Arirang, which is, sorry if I'm butchering the name, but let's just talk about how like the documentary basically kicked off in the historic square in Seoul. I'm not going to say the name because I'll probably butcher it. But that's where they did their live performance, which I talked about previously in my previous episode. And the visuals were like stunning. And I also went over that and some of the controversy. I'll just go over that again here because I think there's bits and pieces that I might have missed out. So all that controversy started like immediately. So there was like technical glitches, and fans like around the world were like furious with Netflix over like the out of sync subtitles, and also like lagging audio during some of the live stream on Netflix. And for basically a group that prides itself on perfection, the messy digital delivery, people said like felt like a disservice to their hard work. So that's why they were so angry at Netflix, because Netflix didn't deliver what they promised. But I do understand it was difficult for Netflix too, because they had millions of people streaming, watching that performance live from around the world. So I'm sure like their servers or whatever they use to, get people to like, whatever when people are logging in, like everything was probably like going haywire. So that's why I didn't personally decide to watch it on the day that it came out. I watched it a few days later because I thought there was going to be like, I'm talking about the performance. No, the day after. I watched it the day after because I thought there was going to be like probably like issues because a lot of people were probably logging in around the world. Um, I also want to touch on, like, in the documentary, you see, like, basically in their eyes that they look like really like stressed and tired. And you kind of sense that they aren't like, if you've seen like clips, I've seen clips of like BTS in the past, like when they were younger and stuff like that, you know, on social media, like TikTok and Instagram and like YouTube, little shorts of them, and they don't look anything like they did when they were like kids. They look very like they've got such a mature vibe now. And like the songs and the performance like really showed, and this documentary showed like they're much more like grown up and matured, and like they've got like a mature vibe, like I said. And they basically aren't the same kids like from 2013, like when I believe that's when it all kicked off. And basically, Jin, the eldest, he looked visibly exhausted because he actually arrived in LA where they were filming the documentary last, and he also left first, and he looked exhausted, and they all looked like they just went through the ringer, like because they were trying to make this album and everything in like a short, like confined, uh, like time space, like I think within about 2 months, and then they wanted to launch and have the performance in March. They were on like such a like short little timeline, and I think it was a lot for them. And I was like shocked that they had like so much creative input on what kind of music goes into the albums, and like the lyrics and what kind of sounds they want, and even like other stuff. I wasn't aware that they had that much creative input. I thought that the production and the music, you know, like the producers and stuff would handle all that for them, and they just like do what they're told, basically. But I guess that's just what happens in the beginning. But at this point, they're like a mature group, so they have a lot more creative input. Yeah, so that was kind of eye-opening for me, and I found that interesting. So Jin, like I said, he looked so exhausted, and he was like the first to return from military service. And the documentary basically highlights how he carried the pressure of keeping BTS, the band, alive, like in the public's eyes, while the others were away still at doing their military service. And he admits in the film, in the documentary, that he feels like the weight of being like the Hyung, the eldest in the group, more than like ever before. Uh, and I feel like he was like pushing through like physical fatigue. And like even the documentary I feel like was like rough for them as well to film, because obviously they're trying to be themselves, but obviously they're aware that they're being filmed. So like everything is like, I think it's just so much. They're trying to cram in so much. And I kind of felt sorry for them after the documentary, because it was a lot of work, way more than I thought they'd have to go through. I thought that the most of the work would be just like memorizing the song lyrics and uh, dance routines, but I didn't realize they have, like I said, that much creative input. Maybe I was just like naive and I didn't think about this, but yeah. Um, so you could see the fatigue like on the cameras, and catch like quick like slump moments like backstage and stuff like that. You can just see them like just like slumping down, and like they look really tired and exhausted. And I just want to touch on RM's injury and all that stuff. So, um, I think one of the most like heart-wrenching parts of the film was RM's like struggle. Just days before like the show, RM suffered like a significant ankle injury, and um he couldn't like participate. Uh, I know they didn't really show this in the documentary, but like this is like the controversy and stuff that was surrounding it. And so like he was basically in a cast, and he was like frustrated and fearful, and there's like candid, he's like his mental health was like not great, probably because he felt like he couldn't participate. And um it's like, you know, it wasn't good, I don't think. I just can't get my words out. I've just got like all these notes, and I can't remember if this was because I watched this documentary like a week ago, and I've been watching other stuff, so I don't know if this was in my notes about like, was that in the documentary? Like, I'm questioning myself, or did I kind of like make that up, or is that what I read somewhere? So yeah, because I've written, because I didn't write like in the notes in the brackets, like in brackets, like part of the documentary, or part of like if I read it in an article. So basically he speaks candidly about his mental health, comparing like repetitive nature of like the idol life and the also like the monotony of like the military. Um, he mentions that he hates being stuck in a routine, and you can see like the existential like dread like on his face and like other members' faces, and the fear that BTS might be just like existing rather than evolving. They all had that same fear throughout the documentary. They just felt like things weren't good enough, or the fans wouldn't like this, or this wouldn't be true to them. Like if they took like the album this way or that way, or that shouldn't be like the main single and things like that. They were like debating a lot. Jungkook, Jungkook. Hopefully I'm pronouncing his name right. I think it's Jungkook. Um, was basically the center of the storm, and most of the post-release buzz was like centered on Jungkook, and the documentary and his like recent social media um like lives have been like revealed. And he's like basically a man at odds with his own like idol image. Like I think he wants to be an idol and doesn't want to be. Like they all go through this, like they don't like the famous part of it. I don't think they struggle with that. And this year he had like a stalker, um and the terrifying reality of his life. Since his like discharge in 2025, Jungkook has faced like multiple home intrusion attempts. Yeah, intrusion attempts. One woman was arrested for trying to punch his door code in just hours after he got home. And the documentary also shows like his home security footage, and it's blurred for privacy, and his genuine fear like highlighting the dark side of like the army obsession. Because I know there are some like people that are like so extremely obsessed and they feel like they have parasocial relationships with these celebrities, these idols. Um, and then there was also some other controversy uh, in a recent 90-minute live that Jungkook did. He was like frustrated and drinking, and he vented about his management. He spoke about wanting to be honest and open about like things like smoking and his personal life, but noted that the company would make a big fuss about it. So I feel like he wants to break free from that life, but also he wants parts of the life. Like I think it's like he's having like an existential crisis of kinds. And then there's also like rumors. This like kind of rebellion has like sparked massive debate online, and some fans interpret his desire for freedom as a hint that he wants to come out of the closet. So a lot of people think that he's like in the closet, while others are convinced that he basically has a secret girlfriend. He's like hiding, and the documentary doesn't give like a straight answer, but it does show the suffocating level of control the team and management still exert over him at basically he's nearly 30. um I think they have to do that to a certain extent in with uh you know in South Korea, because like once people don't you know like you in South Korea, or they find out that you've got a boyfriend or a girlfriend, I've heard that people get a lot of like unaliving threats and things like that, and it's like it's very harsh. So I think in that sense, I think like there has to be some sort of understanding from the fans. Like they're not your yes, you watch them and you have a parasocial relationship with them, but it doesn't mean that you know anything about them really. It's just what they want you to see. And I felt really bad, like because of their mental health struggles and stuff like that. They don't really say that they're going through mental health struggles, but you can see it's weighing like deeply on them. And then, like I said, like the mental toll. The documentary doesn't like basically shy away from like the mental health stuff. All seven members basically, like I said, look totally spent, and the transition from the rigid like military structure back into like the high pressure idol world has clearly like taken a toll. I think like they're very, very nervous about like being liked or make this comeback actually happening, and whether people are going to like it, what the Korean fans are going to think, what the worldwide fans are going to think. They want to get it done by a certain time. They don't want to like dilly dally and like mess things up, and they don't want to like not meet their targets and deadlines, and they want to get things done. And the film basically ends, the documentary basically ends in the studio of them like performing their song, and Swim and RM describes like the lyrics as like a monologue of someone who almost feels like giving up, but not 100%. It's a somber, I feel like, but beautiful like note that leaves like fans like wondering how much longer can they keep up this like at this pace. um I like the way it ended. I like the song Swim. It's quite a like addictive like song. I like the other songs in the album too. I loved the way they were showing them watching their old documentary clips uh in the house in LA, and they were like bonding again and stuff. They also already seem very, very close, even though they haven't spent that much time together recently. Another thing I noticed was that I loved like I don't know that they did a live on the beach, and the beach time that they had to like relax was nice. They didn't have that much like relaxing time while they were in LA. They had a lot of studio time, and they were doing like a lot of stuff. Also, I wanted to point out that there is like a lot of other negative stuff. People are talking about how BTS is um, people are canceling BTS for being, silent about wars in the Middle East. Also, they are also canceling BTS. They want to cancel BTS for racist comments that they've made, uh, specifically towards Black people. And I haven't seen any of this. I've just heard about this. I have to do my research into all of this. I don't know how they're involved, or like what they've said about the war in the Middle East or anything like that. And I also don't know about what racist comments they supposedly have made, and which members have made those comments. So that's something I'll look into myself. I don't think I'll do a follow up on this because um it's not, there's nothing like really to follow up on because there's no like further documentaries or anything like that. But yeah, I did find it very interesting. They just looked exhausted, and I felt like they needed a break. Hopefully they get a break now after the album's over, but I think they're going to go straight on tour or something like that. They're very busy individuals. I also wanted to look up their net worth. Let me just have a little look while I'm doing this. Net worth. Let's see what they each member. So estimated between $20 million to over $40 million. V, $40 million USD. He's recognized as one of the richest members. Jungkook is 35 million USD. J-Hope and Sugar are 30 million. RM is 22 million USD with substantial income from songwriting royalties as well. And then stock assets and all that as well they've got. And it doesn't say about Jin, or is that it? Yeah, that's what the AI showed me. So yeah, there's a lot of interesting stuff that happened. What I took away from the documentary is that they work very hard and they never get any time off. They look exhausted all the time. Although they do get time off, it's like very like limited, like short, like just a day here and a day there. They don't have like longer periods, like we'd go on holiday for a week or like 2 weeks or 3 weeks or something like that. Like I don't think they have that opportunity or that time to do that. But again, I feel like they have to, because they have to strike while the iron's hot, and their fans are still, they have to keep their fans entertained constantly, and they're constantly in fearful that their fans will go away if they like continue like this break this hiatus that they had. So I think they're wanting to get back into the studio because they are also very aware that no band has like lasted this long. Although they all have been working on their solo projects, people have done TV stuff and people have done, from what I've read, solo projects as well. And those solo tours have been going good for them and stuff like that. So I think I think they'll be okay if they decide to branch out from BTS as a, group. But if they want to try and like make it work, and they genuinely look like they all like love each other a lot. There's a lot of love there between all of them. But yeah, so this controversy stuff, the other things that I said about at the end that I haven't looked up properly, that might be something that you guys can comment on and let me know if you know about like the racism controversy and the Middle East war controversy stuff. Let me know, like comment and tell me what you guys think. Are you guys part of the army? Do you like BTS? What's your favorite song off the Arirang album? I want to know. And I think that's about it. I don't have that much else left to say about this documentary. It was, like I said, interesting, eye-opening, different to what I thought it'd be. And I also like the way that they filmed using like an old style documentary camera for most of it. That was interesting. I think it was like very reminiscent of like, early 2000 documentaries and stuff like that. Interesting. I liked it. Was interesting, but also I felt suffocated, like they were feeling, and like I felt like stress when they were stressed, and yeah, but it was insightful. So like I said, just comment and let me know what you guys thought of it, if you viewed it the same way I did, and let me know about the controversy bits, what you thought of that stuff, and if you have any more insight than I do. Well, that's about it. We'll be back with more K-dramas and Korean reality TV. Hopefully some Japanese reality TV pretty soon, and hopefully some Chinese stuff too. And also some more Korean variety show stuff as well. So yeah, that's about it. Bye. Quick, hit the follow button so you never miss an episode. You can also follow us on our socials too: Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, Blue Sky, YouTube, and give us a 5-star rating on whatever you're listening to this podcast on.